Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Brodowski. This is an introduction to writing introductions, body paragraphs, and conclusions for simple 5-paragraph essays. When writing introductions about books in English class, your introduction will have 3 separate areas: a gate statement, background information, and a thesis statement. So the first 1 to 2 sentences of your introduction is going to be a very general statement about the book that you're reading that includes the genre of the book, which is the G part of the gate statement, the author's full name, the title in italics for long works like novels, or quotes for shorter works like short stories, and an evaluation. The evaluation can be a really quick opinion that you have about the book, and it can also kind of work its way into the background information, which is the next part of the introduction. Just one important thing to be aware of: introductions for other kinds of papers don't necessarily start with a gate statement. The second part of your introduction is going to be your background information, which is another 1 to 2 sentences. Readers might need information like the names, locations, conflicts, problems, dates, relevant literary terms, etc., to understand the connection that you are making between the broad, very general gate statement and the very specific argument in your thesis. The biggest mistake I see students doing is retelling the story. So make sure that you do not give us so much information that you've just restated the entire story, but only background that is relevant to your thesis. The background is basically a bridge between the gate statement at the beginning and the thesis statement at the end. The most important sentence in your entire paper is the last sentence of the introduction, and this is your thesis statement. It's also called a main claim, and it's basically the argument that your entire paper will prove. So a successful thesis statement, as Lisa Simpson is going to show you, is usually 1 sentence unless you're writing a longer, more involved paper. It's a statement, not a question, that identifies what you're talking about in the paper, and it takes a stand rather than simply saying what you're talking about. So it's actually kind of like an opinion, and we'll look at a few of them on the next slide. The characteristics: you want to make sure that the thesis is not just a topic sentence, but rather really an argument that you're going to defend in the next few paragraphs. Also, you can change your thesis statement. If you start writing and you realize that you're starting to prove something different, you may need to go back and rework it, but don't get too far off track, and make sure that all of your body paragraphs work to support that thesis statement. Also, as you continue to read, write, and think about your topic, see if the thesis still represents your opinion, or do you need to change that a little bit too. These 3 examples of thesis statements are really helpful in understanding the difference between a simple sentence and a more complex argument. So in the first one, this paper will consider the advantages and disadvantages of practicing yoga. That's really not going to matter to somebody if they don't want to know about yoga. So your argument would be better if you said something like, this paper will demonstrate why practicing yoga is crucial and beneficial to improving mental, physical, and emotional health. This also gives you a lot of different things to talk about later on in the body. A second example: teachers should not predetermine essay length in their assignment requirements. Maybe explaining why, because, and then give us some reasons would actually make that a little bit stronger. So in the second example, teachers should not predetermine essay length in their assignment requirements because, or as they, inhibit the quality of a paper and discourage the development of ideas. This is much stronger and something that you're going to prove as opposed to something more boring. Finally, the last one: there are many reasons why eating breakfast is important. Blah. Super boring. We need to spice that up a little bit. Though there are many reasons why eating breakfast is important, the meal is most important because it can improve cognitive function, prevent heart disease, and lower the risk of diabetes. This is a great structure for a thesis statement because the first body paragraph can be improving cognitive function, the second one preventing heart disease, and the third one lowering the risk of diabetes. So you've actually built an outline right into your thesis statement. I'm not going to go over body paragraphs because you can check out my ideas paragraph video for that, but each of your body paragraphs is just an ideas paragraph. For your topic sentence, though, make sure that each topic sentence helps prove your thesis. Once you get down into the analysis, my best suggestion to you once you get into that third or fourth sentence in the paragraph, is to go back and reread your thesis. If you get stuck in your analysis, go back and remind yourself what it is you're really trying to prove in the paper, and then prove it in that analysis. Finally, the summary is not so much a clincher as it will be a transition to your next paragraph and your next set of ideas. Finally, once you get through all the body paragraphs and you're writing your conclusion, there are a few components that will make it a lot easier for you. First of all, the first sentence would be to restate your thesis, but do not copy and paste it. I have already read the thesis statement, and I don't want to read the same exact sentence twice. It makes me crazy. Then summarize some of the main points in just a few sentences in the middle that you tackled in your paper, but don't go on forever. And then finally, if you really want to have a zinger at the end, make some great connections to yourself and the outside world, but try to avoid adding new evidence. Since you're not really proving anything, you're just trying to really hammer your point home. And finally, just to review, I think it's really nice to have a visual way of thinking about the writing and how your paragraphs fit together. So your introduction is your gate statement, background, and thesis. Your thesis is going to come right at the end here, and that's the most important sentence in the entire paper. Everything else in the paper is going to prove that one sentence. Then we've got ideas paragraphs that will explain and provide more information for that thesis. So you can think about stacking up your ideas paragraphs, and normally in an essay that you're going to write for high school, you're going to have roughly 5 paragraphs, but if you're trying to explain something deeper, you could have quite a few more paragraphs that you add on, and you will continue to develop your ideas. Finally, at the very end, in the conclusion, we're restating the thesis, summarizing the main points, and connecting to yourself or your world as a way to end things. Hopefully that helps you think about how to write essays and gives you a very basic structure that you can use in the future. But just know that the more advanced you become in your writing and your thinking, the more you will change the way this looks to suit the task and to suit your audience. Have a great day.